Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in today, but before I get into this video, I want to go ahead and ask you to hit that subscribe button and make sure you press the bell as well so that you can be notified whenever I post a new video, whether it's tarot related or metaphysical or whatever your little esoteric heart's desires. Alright, now I'll get into it today. So what I'm going to be doing here is a general reading for the collective consciousness. Now, this is a little different from my other videos because each one of my other videos I'm trying to teach and demonstrate what each individual card represents and its meaning. This is going to be just a reading. So if you're just curious to have your cards read and you've come across this video, I would say stay tuned and listen a little more thoroughly. So I'm going to go ahead and shuffle the deck. Alright, so that just feels good to me, so I'm going to let that be. Now what I'm going to do is what's called a Celtic Cross spread. So there are 10 cards that are going to go into this reading, so it's going to be a nice thorough spread for everyone to get a good bit of information out of. So this is the layout that is common for the Celtic Cross spread, and I have seen slight variations in other readings where each placement is slightly worded differently, but I'm going to go with what I know and just explain what the reading depicts for your benefit, for what you are meant to receive from me at this time. So I start in the center and work down in a clockwise motion. Now the center represents our most dominant energy right now, and it is Temperance crossed by the Nine of Wands. And the Nine of Wands is right side up in this particular layout in that direction. So what Temperance represents is harmony and balance and finding ourselves in wherever situations we are, finding this sense of understanding. It's like, okay, this balance, this peace, this calm. It's like almost the calm before the storm almost, but not necessarily saying that there is a storm heading for us any more than what we're already in at this given point in time. Now, it being crossed by the Nine of Wands. Wands represent journeys and paths that we go on. So the Nine of Wands, basically because the suit of Wands goes from Ace through 10, it's just before 10. So it's almost like just before the fulfillment of a path manifesting and becoming known to us. So again, we're in a calm place, understanding we're waiting. We're just being patient. We're waiting to see what's going to happen next, what's on the horizon for us, and it's so close. We're almost there, but we're having to kind of bide our time, and we're also enjoying this sense of peace that we're having now because it's been unusual, especially for this year in general. Alright, so now what's below this, basically when a card is below the center focus, it indicates what's below the surface, more at the core. And it's the Ace of Wands reverse. Aces represent new beginnings, and again, wands are those paths and directions that we go on. This card being reverse is indicating how we're at a standstill with our direction. We're feeling as if we're unsure of what direction to go in, and that relates to what we were just talking about here. We're waiting. We're trying to see what happens next to really show us clearly what direction we truly are going in. Now, what's behind us? This means this has already happened. This is done and been over with, but this had to happen. The realization and acceptance of this card had to happen in order to get us to this place. Now, it's the Queen of Cups. And the Queen of Cups is a female energy, but I mean, this is applying to, I feel like this is applying to us getting in tune with our feminine sides if you are male, or getting better attuned to your own emotions and the good and the bad. It's not just about the positive, it's about understanding the positive side and the negative side of ourselves and what we're feeling, and coming to grips with like what they all mean to us, because we are meant to see things and feel things that only we can experience in this reality. So getting to know our negative feelings is not necessarily a bad thing. It's about understanding ourselves on a much deeper level. So we have taken the time that has been present with us within recent months with all the drama that is the year 2020 to really just kind of reflect inward and find ourselves more and understand, like, okay, who am I? What are my feelings indicating to me? And now that we've kind of done that, we've done that heavy work, now we're in the state of waiting. It's like, okay, what next? Now, this brings us to our crown. Our crown is the Three of Pentacles here. And your crown represents more, I guess I would say, external factors, where what's below you is more what's on the inside. This is on the outside. So the Three of Pentacles, I like to call a co-worker card, basically. There's three individuals depicted in the card here. And Pentacles often represent financial concerns, job opportunities, career paths, projects you're involved in, things like that. And so this particular card, there are choices to be made. Whenever you see a 3 come up, it's showing there are options to go with, like just the sense of direction and what to take for a particular project you might be involved in. But ultimately, with these co-workers being involved in here, it's showing that no matter what decisions you all collectively decide to make, you're all coming together and bringing each unique skill, talents, and ideas in a very harmonious way. No one person is like butting heads with the other, but each individual involved in the situation is trying to challenge the others in a positive growth sort of way. So it's a good card when this is right side up, showing that like we're going to be faced with working together. We're going to be challenging ourselves to see how we get more creative and expand our consciousness further. So again, that goes with our waiting period. Now, what's ahead? That's what this placement is representing. What's ahead for us is the Devil card. And the Devil typically represents temptation. But what is temptation? I look at temptation to represent more of what soothes us, what gives us comfort. And sometimes that's not a bad thing, but sometimes it's more of a detrimental thing. Now, it's not the worst since it is right side up. That's simply indicating that we're going to be given the opportunity up ahead to become more and more self-aware of what or why we do what we do. And ultimately, that also makes us reflect on what our coping mechanisms are. And more commonly understood coping mechanisms like smoking and drinking are what can be depicted, or when you think of coping mechanisms. But other things can be a coping mechanism for some individuals. Like coffee drinking can be a coping mechanism. For me, that's personally a thing that I have learned to identify, so I try to limit my intake of coffee because I know I'm just covering things up when I feel the need to drink coffee. Or even something like, okay, so nail biting, that's another thing. People that are nail biters, that is a coping mechanism when they feel like they can't deal with something and there's stress in their life, so that's just a nervous reaction that they're trying to subconsciously be in control of. So there's going to be all sorts of different things that people can identify of, like, what is your coping mechanism? The Devil card coming up for us is basically making us reflect on that and become more and more aware of what that is. And the more aware we can become of these coping mechanisms, the more we can learn to either release them or see why we felt the need to repress those emotions, or why we felt we weren't in control to begin with. And then we can see how much more control we truly do have over our environment or situations we find ourselves in. Now, these last 4 cards that I saved to flip till now I look at them as like additional tidbits of information to help with the main reading that we had here. Now, this card here represents our self-image, basically where we stand right now and looking inwards, and it's showing a message of what we're not aware of, and it's a lot to do with certain emotional factors because cups represent our emotions and our feelings. So the Page of Cups reversed. Now, in a lot of traditional depictions, the page is admiring the fish in the cup. And it's like, wow, look at this. This is incredible. Look at this one thing that's so cool. Wow. But in fact, he's neglecting the ocean of fish that are just behind him. Now, this being reversed is sometimes indicating how the fish that we're focusing on is more detrimental to us than it is beneficial. So we end up focusing on something because we think it's so cool, we think it's great, or we think it's so useful to us, but ultimately it's not what we need in our lives. It's not what we need to be focusing on. And so we have to remind ourselves, oh wait, yes, this is not the only thing to focus on. There is an ocean of fish behind us. Now, the next card. It's our environment card, but our environment is not just one place. It's all things happening around us, in our reality, in our world, in our bubble, so to speak. So it's what we're facing or what we're experiencing. And it is the Emperor reverse. So this is basically saying that we are not feeling like the conquerors of our reality. We're not feeling as if we are in total control right now. And that's okay, because at any point that you are feeling out of control or at a state of feeling vulnerable, that is a unique opportunity for you to be able to look inward and see yourself at what I would say is your most raw state, to see the real you, to no longer ignore it, and to see what it is you need to be understanding of it and of yourself. So there is purpose of the universe putting our situations and circumstances as they are to make us feel this way in order to learn more about ourselves. Now, the next card. This can represent a few different things, hopes or fears, or what I would say is our shadows. Now, this one in particular is more so a hope. It's something we're being optimistic about and wanting to manifest. It might not be this right now as it may, but we're wanting to manifest it more and more. It's the 5 of Wands. 5s represent change. Wands, again, are paths and directions that we go on in life. So what may happen is you find some conflicting ideas being thrown around with people around you or circumstances that you find yourself in, and ultimately you're wanting things to change and be cohesive enough where you grow from it, whatever outcome arises. Like, it's okay to have opposing ideas with people around you, but you're seeing how when those ideas arise, how they're starting to create a sense of direction and purpose that you're wanting to manifest for yourself. So this is something that we can remind ourselves of no matter what situation we're finding ourselves in. Difficult situations, hardships, whatever. Just trusting that wherever we find ourselves, we are finding who we truly are and allowing ourselves to grow from the experience. Now the last card is going to be our outcome card, but I like to say it's not the end all be all of everything. This is just more so what we're leading up to with this particular reading. Now, and it is the Hermit reverse. So the Hermit, you think about a hermit crab, right? Someone who goes and reserves themselves and hides up in their shell a little bit. And hermits, though, when they're right side up, can be very wise and just introspective type of people, that they don't have to be so loud, or they don't have to be all about someone else's business in order to find themselves throughout it all. Now, this being reverse is showing how, because we've been going through extreme times and we're being truly tested on what we're trying to cope with, what we're dealing with our vulnerabilities and all that, it's going to make us want to retreat and go in, like, even more so. And we have to be careful with it being reversed, is saying that can be something that closes ourselves off from seeing the bigger picture at hand with our environment and everything that's happening around us. So the card comes up to give us almost like a heads up about this, so that when we find ourselves doing this, when we feel like we're closing ourselves off from people around us or from our situations, we need that little helping hand to, like, wait a minute, no, I'm doing myself a disservice by doing this. It's scary for sure to open up and let my vulnerable side show, but ultimately, if I allow that to happen, I'm going to see more of myself, see more of the world around me, see more of the people around me, and ultimately, again, get to know myself more and more and know our own place in the world and what's happening. So the general reading here, I know there's a lot to take in from this, but I do believe that it's all about finding ourselves, discovering what our personal boundaries are, what we stand for, what we believe, and how we learn to deal with all these emotions coming up and becoming more known to ourselves. So there's a lot with that, but I think this reading's a good one to prepare us all for this introspection cycle that we're going through right now. Alright, so I hope this was beneficial to you. I hope you got some good information out of this. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to leave a comment down below. I love hearing from every single one of you. And please, again, subscribe to my channel. Follow me on social media. I'm Laura Hypnosis on Facebook and Instagram. And I'd love to connect with you if you have anything else you want to share with me. Alright, so stay tuned for next week and we'll see what I choose to do for the next week's video. And if you have any suggestions on that, like if there's anything in particular you want to know about or a topic you'd like me to cover, let me know. Alright, so thanks for tuning in today. I'll see you next week. Bye.